Walter Crosby with the sweater vest, all the way from Michigan, man. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
I am doing well. Appreciate the opportunity. And I was in 14-degree weather, and today it's almost 50. Tomorrow it'll be 20. That's what you get but it has no sleeves.
Well, California, it's so cold, I'm wearing socks with my flip-flops. Oh, man. So you are, I think you're my long-lost brother. You got your Sales and Cigars podcast. Amen. But you're running a Helix Sales Development. So are you saying there's a way, a proven way, a process to get good salespeople?
Proven process, repeatable. You just got to think different. Got to believe something different. It's hard. I get a little passionate about this. So, to me, there were a couple of jobs in my career I got because I controlled the interview. Like I had one guy start the interview process, and he was started asking me questions about the resume, and then if he called my manager, what would the manager say? Like, oh, we're going to do top grading. Okay, let's go. I got jobs because I did a better job of interviewing because, as a salesperson, we're better at selling and we pretty much know our product, is us. So I think there's a few things that if a business owner, HR, VP of sales, who's leading the charge, I think we got to look at salespeople as a different animal, right? And we're salespeople. We can admit to this. We're different. We're a little crazy. We got a great job. We can make a lot of money, but it's hard. And we're gonna face no more than anybody else in a company. There's nobody coming in, and the engineers. We're not going in there and stealing their calculators and hiding their pencils, right? We go out in a sales call. There's people trying to take our business from us. There's competitors. There's people talking smack about us. That doesn't happen. So I think the first thing that's important is we're different, so we need to treat salespeople different and approach it differently.
Yeah. And I agree. But I had a lot of jobs before I went out on my own. And a lot of my managers came from sales. So you would think they would know this, but it seems like when they put their hiring hat on, they just forget it. They just become different people. Do you see that happening? And why?
100%. First off, there's no sales manager school. Usually we get promoted to be sales manager because we were a top performer. And somebody said, well, those guys, they know how to sell. Maybe they can manage these guys over here and teach them what they know. Different skill set, as we know. And then when a sales manager said, we need to go hire 2 people, we need to get your numbers up, there's a lot of pressure applied to them. So they start to feel that fear. We got to hire somebody. We need to replace this person. We got an empty territory. All of these fears come into their mind. So they want to go fast when they really should slow down, and they should get clear about what it is that they're looking for. So that sales manager feels that pressure, and nobody's ever taught them how to sell. How to hire somebody, right? And reverse that. So they go out and start talking about how great the company is, how great this job is. And they forget that they're supposed to qualify this candidate just like they qualify a buyer. So it's not their fault, right? We're put in a position where we're probably, I know when I got my first sales manager gig, my wife was like, I told her about it. She's like, that's great. Congratulations. Have you ever managed anybody before? And I'm like, no. She's like, well, you're going to manage 6 people and you could barely manage yourself. She wasn't wrong. It wasn't what I wanted to hear in the moment,
Yeah.
but that's what they do. It's
Yeah.
one of the things they check us from time to time is our terms.
So when do people find you? Is it because they've just tired of running into walls, and they're looking for systems and processes? It's rare that people like proactively go and just do the smart, right thing. Right. So,
On purpose? Yeah, that's rare.
yeah. So they're usually like suffering and like in Google, how the hell do I find good salespeople? Oh, Walter, let me call this guy.
That happens sometimes. I think from my perspective, I go out and I talk about a couple of things consistently, and I'm consistently sharing a message. Sales development means a lot of different things. I'm one of those people that say sales training is a waste of money if we don't have the structure in place. I mean, to me, they're out there looking for sales hiring, and they might find me. But they've made a bunch of mistakes. They're really, really frustrated. They know that what they're doing isn't working, but they don't know what to do. They've tried recruiters. They've tried hiring in different processes and different methods. They've tried to clone the person that does the best job in their company. But they really need to just go back and rethink what they're doing. And it's not rocket science, but I always start with somebody like, what do you want this person to do every day, every week, every month? What do they need to be good at? Well, they need to be good at sales. Yeah. Okay. Let's start there. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Are you going to give them 10 accounts and say, grow them? Are you going to give them 10 accounts and say, don't screw it up? Are you going to give them 0 accounts and tell them to go find new logos? Those are 3 different roles, or is it a combination? So how do you go find somebody if you haven't figured out who you're looking for? It's like dating or getting married, right? People make mistakes from time to time.
I want the really pretty one that's smart and funny and laid back and can cook and wants a lot of kids and will let me go golfing and drink with the fellas. All that I want.
Yeah, that's so you want a unicorn.
And I want it right now.
Right.
I've got a church reserved and the cake's already made.
Yeah. And the other thing is that as guys, and we're perfect, right? We know how to treat them. We know how to share responsibility. We know how to talk to them. We can communicate really well, right? It's the same thing. Companies don't know how to position themselves. But if we really go back to that basics and figure out what it is that we want them to do and are really crystal clear on that description, and then we translate that into writing a job posting that describes that person. So think about it. If you go look for a job, you're going to see all of these ads and they all look the same. There's a lot of bullet points of accountability and there's a lot of responsibilities, and it's a happy story about how great the company is and the role is, and you can make a lot of money. Everything
Opportunity of a lifetime. Opportunity for a self-starter.
Absolutely. And what's the other line that you see a lot of? No cap on the commission. No cap on your earnings.
Unlimited earnings.
Yeah, which is a sign for like you got to go eat what you kill. So to me, if we write a job posting that describes who we are, so that when that person reads it, they're like, "Oh, I do that. I'm pretty good at selling value. I know how to talk to that buyer because I've done it for 10 years." So if we get them to be able to read something that describes them and they select themselves like, hey, this is a good fit for me. I like my job, but this sounds interesting. So they lean into it and they apply. That, right, is makes us different there. So if we start off being clear about who we want and we write something that attracts the people and repels the people that we don't, because we need to do that too. So there's those are two big pieces on the front end. And then if we think about resumes, there's a lot of bullshit in sales resumes. It's funny where I was doing an interview with a guy and it says, hey, it says here you were top salesperson in the Midwest region 3 years in a row. That is awesome. How many people in the region?
Was he the only one?
He was. But I'll give him credit, right?
Hey.
I called him out and he's like, yeah, you're right. I was the only one, but I got better every year. Okay, let's talk about that. Right. So that tells me the guy had a little bit of integrity. He was, he wanted to create something. It was marketing, but and I've had people that had spelling errors all over their resume. And I asked him about that. And he's like, oh yeah, I guess she put that together and she didn't spell check. And who's she? Because your name's at the top, man. So yeah, it's, and we got to be willing to call that out.
Yep.
And thinking about, I think another tip would be stop selling the company and the role until we know we have a candidate. Those things, when you've gone through your careers and interviewed places, did they always start selling?
Oh, I was like you. I'd flip things around, man. And they get to talking. They were always excited about the company and opportunity. And I just nod and go, wow. Every time. It's crazy.
And those people usually aren't skilled at interviewing process.
No,
they're not skilled
at
at creating structured questions. They don't, and they've usually looked at the resume and fallen in love with something on the resume.
Yeah, that's right.
Or people are worse. People are ruled out. I graduated. I remember I was talking to a friend of mine I graduated with a couple years after we graduated college, and she was working for a very large bank, and she was in HR. And when a resume came across her desk for any position, and if that person had the Notre Dame University, if that was their education, she threw it out.
Oh.
And I'm like, Esther, you can't do that. That's wrong. She said, no, I don't want anything to do with anybody from Notre Dame. And it was because it was a rival of ours at the time from college. So people fall in love or hate something on a resume, and they do it for the wrong reason. They want industry experience. And I'm going to say industry experience is overrated. I want somebody who knows how to sell to my buyer. So if I'm selling something to a CFO or a facilities director, I want somebody that has a Rolodex of those people, that knows how to talk to them, understands how tough their job is, what their problems are. We can teach them our product. I don't need them to know how to sell my product. We can teach them that. And if we can't, then you got another problem that you need to fix.
Yep. See it all the time. They hire for experience, and it's like a mutual fund, like past performance is not, no guarantee of future results.
That's good. I like that. When you look at a resume, they got 5 years experience in your industry, 1 year at a time.
Yeah.
And that should be a red flag. I met a guy who was working for a company, and he'd been there for 9 months, and he was making okay money, but he absolutely hated the company. And I'm like, you can't leave after 9 months. Suck it up and stay for a couple of years, make as much money as you can, learn as much as you can, network your ass off. But it's like, I'm not interested in somebody that's got 9 months and they want to move on, because that means they're probably going to do that again. So that industry experience thing, I think, is another thing that people have to think different about with the process.
So is that as true today though? Because like my son, he's 27, he's in the tech space out in the Bay Area, and it seems like everybody, the younger they are, it seems like they change jobs quickly, and it's like he's moved up every time. I'm like, can you keep doing this? And he does, but I don't know. It's surprising, but he's not in sales,
Right. Yeah.
So
I'm really talking about sales, and there are a lot of people that in certain industries can navigate, banking, finance, that kind of thing.
mhm.
If you get a couple of big deals, people want you on their team. Um, I think in sales, it's a red flag. Not always, not always a big problem. You got to check it out. But to me, it's a red flag that I'm going to circle on somebody's resume and try to understand, especially if there's a pattern. I mean, there's everybody in '08 and '09. There was a little problem there where people lost jobs and the economy
Yeah,
sucked. There were a lot
sure.
of short time things around that. I
Right.
get it. But if I see like 10 years and then 3 years, and then I see a series of 9 months or a
Mm,
year,
yeah.
that makes me like, what's going on here? And there might be a legitimate excuse, but it starts to develop a pattern because something happened in this person's life that could be a factor. If he keeps moving up, what's wrong with that?
Yeah. Yeah, my son. Are you seeing companies be like less loyal? Like, is that contributing at all?
Um, in the sales space, I don't know if they've ever been loyal to begin with. Um, the great thing about sales is that if your numbers are there, unless you're a total awful human being, you're probably going to be okay. But if your numbers aren't, what I'm actually seeing, Wes, is people are holding on to them longer than what they should. I'm seeing people like
Holding on
accepting
to salespeople specifically?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
keeping
Okay.
that mediocrity because they're so afraid of
Yep.
like, what am I going to do? Like,
Yep.
I need somebody. This person's better than nobody. And I challenge that idea. This person's walking around with your business card, carrying your brand. Do
Yeah.
you want them representing you?
Yep.
Like I mean, yeah, it's a problem. That's why we always should be recruiting. We always should be out there talking to people, looking for that talent, because there's usually somebody on your team that could be replaced. But
Yes.
so I don't see that mentality that often,
Mhm.
right? I'll see people like, Jack Welch fire the bottom 15% every year. Okay, corporate America, yeah. But I work in that small to mid-size space because I don't like corporate America.
Yeah.
Just too many wishy-washy committees and such. So what I see, those people they do the opposite. They hang on too long. And then they don't realize what that mediocrity does to the people that are performing. If you got two people creating 80% of the revenue and you got three people that are just taking up space, that it's hard to build that sales team, right? That
Yeah.
camaraderie.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in the military. You understand what teamwork is and what that really truly means when you have it. I mean, there's something special there. I want a sales room where people are talking trash to each other out of love and competition. You got me this month, but I'm getting you next month. That kind of
Yep.
thing.
Yep. Amen.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
So, do you do recruiting for companies, or do you just help them learn how to do it on their own?
So I'm not a recruiter, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Is the joke.
All right. All right.
The what I do, my approach to this is you've been doing this in a particular fashion for years. It's not working. So we want to get different results. So we need to do something different. I can put them in a class, teach them how to do this. And I found that was ineffective.
And who were you teaching? Like the owner or sales managers?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. If there was a sales manager and the owner, we'd have them in there. If there was an HR person, we'd have them in there. And it didn't matter they were doing just the education component didn't work as well as here's the process, here's the documentation. I'm going to walk you through this, but what we're going to do is I'm going to help you hire one person. We're going to do this together. It's sort of walking down this path, right? Where we see the same landscape, but I see it my way, they see it their way, and we need to kind of come together and collaborate. Because it's such a big mindset shift, where I say things to people like, I don't want to see the resume until I'm ready to interview. We've got several steps beforehand, right? And they need to get qualified in each one of these steps. And before we spend a lot of time and resources on them. So to me, it's let's go do these steps together. I'll do a couple. When you're ready, you try this step. Like, so I did 4 or 5 phone screens today with different clients. So I'm doing a 10-minute screen and like, well, let me do the next one. Okay. Right. So they do one, we debrief after that, what they got out of it, how that felt, what they could do better the next time. To me, it's sort of like sales, right? You can put somebody in a training room, do 3 days of training, everybody's all excited, and they come back and 2 weeks later, what did we learn?
Yep.
Right. So that coaching component is what we're bringing to it. They get the documentation, and then this person, whoever that hiring manager is going to be, it might be an HR person, it might be a sales manager, it might be an owner. It depends on the situation and the size of the organization. But I'm going to teach somebody how to do this and let them practice and see how it's done, try it, see how it's done. And I want them to understand the full package before we go do the theory. Because it's, to me, I learn better by doing and participating rather than reading something in text. That's why school had textbooks and lectures and, where you got together and talked to your TA and whatnot. So it's the same principle, and it works much better. It lands. It becomes adopted into the organization because of that mindset shift. That mindset shift. It takes a minute. They got to see it work. They got to believe it and trust it. And I don't expect them to say, just because I say it works, it doesn't necessarily, they shouldn't necessarily believe that.
Right.
So I just sort of prove it to them. So it's not a
Are you going on site with them, or can you do this remotely?
I do it remotely. Occasionally, like, they'll want me to come out because they want to do some face-to-face. So if we can line up a bunch of face-to-faces, I'll come out there and do that with them or be part of a group. But the process really is, we do that interview, we do a phone screen and then an interview. Those can all be done remotely. And then we define what the next step is. And that's usually, a group interview with the people at the company that really want to have some say, but they're high level people. So we're giving them fewer people, and these people are qualified, and they just get to decide if they're a core values fit, they're going to fit into the culture. So I want this whole process to be done in 2 or 3 weeks tops.
Mm-hmm.
So, and everybody's gotten comfortable with this sort of a virtual setup. And it takes a little bit, looks a bit of energy. We got to be focused. It's good to have 2 people in that room anyway, because whoever's not doing the questions can sit back and kind of watch the person and take notes. And it's a bit of a game. It's fun to watch people get it. It's just like salespeople, right? Coaching a salesperson when they have that a little epiphany, right? Oh, that's how I'm supposed to say that. Oh, that's the timing of that question.
Right.
It's the same thing, because we're not pitching this job? Like, well, we've got a great company. Yeah, that's great. Tell the people that you think are qualified. Let's not waste the time and effort to do that. And we're trying to keep that candidate on their heels. We're treating them professionally. We're treating them politely, but we're treating them a lot like a prospect will. Not buying everything the salesperson says. They're going to ask some tough questions to make sure that we really understand their problems and that we really can be a provider of a solution. It's really the same thing. You're just flipping the side of the desk.
So are you working your way out of a job with every client?
I'm working my way out of having to teach them how to do it every time. That gives them the repeatable process. What typically happens is they ask me to support the process the second time around. So that structure is similar, but not as intense. I'm usually involved with the company on different levels, right? I might be doing some sales hiring with them. I might be doing some process work. I might be doing some work on messaging. So, there's some various engagements. I don't go away. I'm usually there for a period of time. So I'm accessible. That's a tough word. So,
Yeah. Okay. So for those that are listening, like, who should be calling you or reaching out? I mean, is it the owner, the sales manager? And what do you say to them? Because they're like, well, like, we're okay, but because I got to assume there's some kind of a retainer for you, and they're like, well, we're okay. Like, do we want to spend the money? And on recruiting, guys are kind of bumping along. Like, we had a decent year, got a new president coming in. Things are going to be better next year, so maybe I'll wait till a year after this. Like,
So, I mean, if somebody said the things that you just said to me, I mean, I would just ask questions. Decent year? You're good with decent? What does that mean? Right? How many salespeople you have? 5. Okay. How many are performing? Okay. What does performing mean? Right? I'm just asking them questions for them to self-discover things aren't as hunky-dory as they think it is. I'm not trying to I'll tell you this, if I get 5 people on a call and 3 of them say this is a great idea, I'm probably only going to work with 2 of them because I'm not convinced that third one is really serious.
mm-hmm.
Because if we do this, we're going to do it, right? And you're going to have some tough conversations with people. You're going to maybe have to replace people, right? So I'm looking for that desire and commitment. So to answer your question, who's signing the checks? Who has the budget? Who can say yes?
Mm-hmm.
So in a smaller organization, that's usually the CEO, the president, right? Whoever's wearing that top moniker, whoever's the one that's responsible for everything. Who's tired of hiring and firing? Because when you hire somebody, let's just say you get past the hiring piece, right? That costs you something to get them brought on. I got to onboard them.
Yep.
Right? And most people onboard poorly. We got to get them figured out. They focus on the wrong things. And then it takes some time to ramp up. So we try to get somebody ramped up 30 days just to get them organized and get through that initial piece. And then your sales cycle is 2 months. So they should be onboarded and ramped up, spinning off business in 90 days.
Right.
Because I don't want them sitting in a room learning about how cool your product is and talking about all the technical gizmos inside of it. What are the questions they need to be asking your buyers? Right. So I go through this process with them to help them understand that they have a bigger problem than they think they have. The question is, do they have the urgency to fix it? And do they have the desire to get rid of the dead weight that they've been accepting?
Yeah.
I mean, the question to really ask, if there's a business owner out there who's struggling with this, ask yourself, of the people that you have on your team, knowing what you know today about them, would you hire them again? I don't care if they've been there a year or 6 years. Would you
Yeah.
hire them again?
Yeah.
And the answer is usually, well, so I'm going to take that as a no. But I mean that it's really, are they serious about it?
Right.
And it's not designed to be. I don't guarantee that we're going to get this done in 2 weeks. I guarantee we're going to work at this to find the right people and get it right. We have a 91% success rate. Hiring somebody that we recommend, that they'll rise to the top half of your sales team in a year. And if you hire somebody that we say, you shouldn't hire them, I'm not recommending them, and you hire them anyway, 75% of them are going to fail in 6 months. The sad thing is they won't get fired. So, there's a lot of factors. But to me, it's about getting it right. And then once they get it right, they want a little more of that. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And they're willing to start getting rid of the dead weight. And I hate to say dead weight because they're people, but if you're not cut out for sales, let's do you a favor and the company a favor and all of our customers a favor and family a favor, and find you a position that might be better suited. That might be in the company, it might be elsewhere, but it's the fair thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dead weight's a good word. We're in sales. Toughen up. You better have some thick skin.
Yeah,
but we're going to run you out anyway.
Hopefully, it's not an easy job. I mean, the hostility then, the rejection we face, and just grumpy people. I mean, they hang up on us on the telephone. Sometimes for good reason, because we say stupid things on the phone when we make a cold call. But yeah, it can be liberating.
Yes, for sure.
Find the right people.
Oh, absolutely. And everybody knows. They know. So do everybody a favor, even the person. I mean, I've been let go from companies, and man, I was talking about it not too long ago. I mean, I was one of 33 people in the whole, 1 out of 3 salespeople that made quota out of 33 salespeople globally. And it was still a small startup. We were doing about 30 million. And, I got let go. Now the company was starting to spiral, but, the manager and I didn't see eye to eye. I mean, we butted heads, and, I was younger, he was younger. We're friends now. We were friends then, but man, we yelled at each other. It's like, I probably got to go.
Yeah.
And,
but I mean, but that's not uncommon.
Yeah.
Right. Because two people are passionate and they want the same thing, but they want to do it in a different way.
Yeah. But usually, I mean, I can't say too much because it would reveal who it is, but people I'm close to are holding on to someone, who was in kind of like operations. They didn't really need him anymore, tried to make room for him in sales, and they're holding on too long. I'm like, look, I will take your money to train him, but I've told them for months now, he's not a fit. Find someone else. And they're too sweet, and they like the guy. He's been with them for a long time. And I'm like, I have no new updates for you. He's not right. But your credit card's on file, and I'm going to hit it every month. I tell you,
but you're being honest with the guy, right?
Yes.
I got fired. I got fired from a client. We had hired a couple of great salespeople. We were doing some fractional sales management work with them, and the CEO said, "Hey, you recommend that we get rid of this lady?" And like, yeah, she hasn't sold anything in 18 months, literally. And he's like, "Yeah, but she's a friend of the family." Like, okay, so put her in a spot. Well, we've had her in this spot and this spot. I'm like, okay, here's an idea. Tell her to stay home and pay her. You're going to get the same ROI. It might be a
Probably
little bit,
better.
it
It'll
might
be
be a
better
little
because
bit
she's not
better.
drinking the company coffee
Exactly.
and using their toilet paper.
That is the line that got me in trouble. Because
It's
he had to
true.
realize that he was just being dumb, right? He's being sweet. The lady
Yes.
had 2 more years, but put her someplace where she can't
2
do
more
harm.
years, like, to retirement?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean,
Yes. But she'd been in various jobs for 8 years.
with the same company? Oh, yeah. She's taking advantage of them. That's what
That's
that
how I
is.
saw it.
That's what that is.
And
You know,
he had gone to some of his friends in the community and saying, "Hey, like she's looking for a job. Well, she's working for you. Yeah, but she'd like a different challenge." And they talked to her because the CEOs were friends, and they're like, "What's the matter with you? Why are you employing her? We don't want anything to do with it."
yeah, it's like, I thought we were friends. Now you're trying to pawn this person off on me? Don't call me again. I mean, that could be dangerous.
He had a good heart, and he was,
Yeah,
but
I see that all the time. But it's like, dude, you don't need to be in business. Like, let someone else run your company. Be like Steve Jobs. Go hire a CEO because you're going to run this thing into the ground. You know, they're nice to one person, like you said. Others are looking around saying, well, I want to be can I be a friend of the family? Because I would sure like to work less hard and get paid the same money.
well,
You can't allow it.
that happens across the company, but it's really prevalent in the sales department, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
the two performers in the department left
Yeah.
because these people they're not doing anything. They're not cutting it. And you if you maintain that mediocrity, the people that are performing are not going to want to stick around in that environment.
Yep.
It's no fun. And they want it to change, and they'll fight to change it sometimes, but they're not going to care more than you as an owner. So, I mean, that right there is reason to start to think about your team and planning to grow. I mean, and think about what do you want to grow? Like, can you grow 50%? Can you grow 100%? Can you only grow 10%? And then are these the people to get you there? Could you actually reduce headcount and find 2 performers that were for what you were paying the 5 people and actually get revenue out of it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's possible. You just have to refigure your comp plan. And that's another thing, that comp plans are so skewed. I got clients who have 5 salespeople in 6 different comp. Crazy.
Yeah.
And they think that the salespeople don't talk.
It all gets found out.
It does. Salespeople like to talk.
I remember, golly, it was the company before the one I just told you about. We were in high tech, and remember I learned. Now I was kind of new in the industry, but this guy, we were the same age, and I had a very technical background, and I had gone from a $36K base and unlimited commission, and I was paid well, to a $50K base plus expenses and a car and unlimited commissions, and I was paid well. But I was at that company like a year and a half, and I learned this guy, he got recruited from the competition. He had like a 72K base when I was making 50. This is like 2001. And I was like, oh, hell no. I mean, 23 years later, I still remember. I mean, I got bent. And then when I went to the competition, I made sure I got a 72K base. And I got it.
But those little things can really screw up the sales culture.
Yeah.
And pit people against each other and build distrust. I have one client who has a longer sales cycle, and we put the structure together that for that period of time, it's really going to take them 2 years to really build out so they could be earning a living. So those people get a bigger base.
Yep.
For 2 years.
Yep.
And then that comes back down to to everybody else. And they get it. They understand that. Like, how can they live if they didn't have something like that? They're still uncomfortable, but they see a path forward. But as long as we were transparent about that, I mean, they got it. They understood, and they were helpful. They were trying to get the person to be successful faster, because if they sold something and they hit that, they exceeded a number, that was the deal. They still got their base for 2 years. We weren't going to take it away from them. So it's a lot of it has to do with, you think you're hiding the weenie in your sales team, and you're not. It comes about just for the reason the story you just told. Damn him, he's making 20 grand more than me. No, sir.
All right. Hide the weenie. That's a good place to stop. So I'm linking to you on LinkedIn, Walter L. Crosby. Got your Facebook, got your website, though. So for those listening, it'll be in the show notes, but it's helixsalesdevelopment.com. And I've been clicking through. I love some of these sales tools you got, hiring mistake calculator, sales process grader. Some cool things. Got your own podcast. I think we're catching up in a few days or later this week on that. So I'm looking forward to that. But
that'll be fun.
And I bet because you're in Michigan, like you'd probably come like south in the winter, probably like train for free, huh?
Let's not get carried away.
All right. I was trying, man. Just testing the waters.
But I'll be more apt to spend time down there working with the team. Be more inclined.
Spend three days for the price of 2.75.
There you go. I mean, I'm flexible, but I'll see how dumb I am. Wes, is I'm going to Minneapolis tomorrow for the day.
Goodness gracious!
I mean, the one place that's colder than where I'm at. Let's go there.
So in Michigan, like, where are you? I always remember the hand.
Yeah, we're the only place that we can show. I'm like right here, right there, right just north of Detroit. Where the mitten is, and we can have on my side of the mitten, we can have an inch of snow, and on the other side they get 8.
Oh man, yeah, 1 is better than 8.
Still sucks.
So I was stationed here. It's how I ended up in California. I married a California girl, and I was stationed here in 94, 95. And a guy I was stationed here with was a huge Michigan fan. He's from Michigan. He was the Armed Forces bodybuilding champion when I was here. And so we lifted a lot of weights.
Him a little more.
What's that?
Him a little more, because if he was the bodybuilding champion.
Dude, he was strong. I was strong back then, but he was strong. But he's a huge Michigan fan. And I grew up in the South, and it's like I knew of Michigan, but I didn't really follow him. And then Tom Brady, okay, I'm like, all right, I like Michigan because I liked him. And but over the years, I'm just not an Ohio State fan. So I've loved the last couple of years. So whatever y'all are doing, keep it up, all right? I like the Harbaughs. That whole family is a great story. So that's a bummer for Michigan. You won it all, and he leaves.
Well, he was going to have some trouble if he stayed.
Yeah, I kind of heard that too.
I graduated. I graduated the same year he did.
Oh, okay.
We weren't friends or anything. Don't get me wrong, but he's the same guy then as he is now. It's a real piece of work.
Interesting.
I think there's some. His kids love him. Like, he loves him. Football. He got everything that you could get out of that team before he left. But it's the number's 4 years in a row for those people in Columbus, Ohio. I have a group of friends that are. I travel from Michigan to Columbus, Ohio, to go to a cigar event, where it's just salespeople, guys who own companies that do what we do, and we get together for cigar. I drive down there, and the last one was last Tuesday, so a week or two after the game, and I don't talk any kind of smack because I've been around long enough to know those rotate.
It'll come back to get you.
I fully expected us to get our butt handed to us this year, and Ryan Day decided to prove Lou Holtz wrong, and that we're a tough team and we're going to pound it. And all he had to do was throw the ball in the flats, and he would have just beat the crap out of us.
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I was in 8th grade. It was the first year I played football. We moved to Houston, and I was a big kid. I was always like tallest in my class. I mean, I'm 6'2" now, but I haven't grown an inch since I was 14. So I was like almost
towering
6
over
feet.
everybody.
Yes, I was knocking on 6 feet in 8th grade. Tall. I was 6'2", 165 pounds, just a green bean. But I was fast. I was a fluke. I was fast and coordinated despite being tall. Most guys that were tall when they're young, they're all gangly and they got to grow into themselves. So
Goofy, yeah.
So I'm at this little Catholic school, and we got this old football coach, Larry Evans, take his teeth out, chain smoking, grew up playing football, played semi-pro ball, has all the injuries, knees replaced, hips replaced, ribs broken. I mean, so this is, 1983. And so he was playing, semi-pro ball in whatever, 60s, and tough guy. And he had never had an undefeated season. And we only played like 7 games. And we were having an undefeated season. We're playing this other little private school, and he wanted to pound the ball up the middle. We were on the goal line, like first and goal. And I'm a wide out, I'm a tight end, I'm a fullback on the power I, right? So whatever he needed. We had a great quarterback. And so he kept faking it either to me as a fullback dive or faking it to the tailback, just running it up the middle and letting the quarterback keep it, do a bootleg or whatever. But the other coach knew our quarterback was our best athlete. He's like, he's going to keep the ball. So we ran the same play 4 times. We ran it like twice, called timeout. And I'm like, Coach, just hand it to me or give it to the tailback. It's like, it's wide open. I'm blowing these guys up. Our offensive line is blowing them up. It's like my mom could walk this ball in, No, like he wanted his way. And so we didn't score. So we tied him. So we did have an undefeated season, but we were 6-0-1 instead of 7-0 because of stubborn coaching. So it happens at all levels, and people don't think it can happen, but it can't. Like colleges and these guys making $100 million can still get stubborn and tunnel vision and make glaring mistakes.
Just be soft. Yeah. Like that. Yeah. And you guys wouldn't have thought about calling an audible, even though the coach told you that.
No.
That wasn't a thought, right?
No.
Even if you had scored, you still would have caught hell, right?
We'd have caught hell. You didn't cross Larry Evans, man. I mean, this is old school. He'd have taken a paddle to us. I think I
know that guy.
So one time, I tell you, we were playing at home, and we were playing like the super bougie, super rich private school. They weren't a Catholic school or anything, because we played mostly other little Catholic schools. This was a private school, all the money. So in Houston, it's called Kincaid. So anybody listening, it's the money part of town. So they come to our little school. We're on the edge of Houston. We're in a very poor part of town. And they took a cheap shot on our quarterback. So we're on offense, right? So he calls timeout. He says, John, I want you to take the snap and just run. Run in circles. I don't care if you lose yards. And he said, I want 10 people to hit that defensive end. We're like, what? So we dogpiled a 13-year-old because he took a cheap shot. So we literally all, what's that?
Didn't do it again.
Yeah. Oh, hell no. So we brutally, ganged up on this kid. And the other coach, man, he's running across the field. Referees are like, I'm sure that's a personal foul of some sort. Sports, they don't know what to call it. Because, technically we're just blocking the kid.
The whole team.
The whole team, right? And so he's screaming, he's like, that's a Bush League play. And I remember Larry goes, where do you think I learned it? So that's how I grew up playing ball, man.
Well, I think that guy might have coached in my high school too. I think there's those guys are gone.
They're gone.
They can't survive even in a high school these days.
No. Well, now in college with the NIL and all. You remember the movie The Junction Boys? Did you ever see that?
No, I don't think so.
Golly, I have to look it up. Very good movie, but Junction, Texas is way out west. Junction, Texas is still in the middle of nowhere. But we would drive from Austin out here to California to see family, and we would drive through Junction. So that's how I know where it is. I mean, today it is nowhere. Well, Bear Bryant coached at Texas A&M before he coached at Alabama. And so he would take the boys. So whenever this was, 50s, I guess, he would take them from A&M to Junction for like spring ball, or 2-a-days, whatever. So some of their training, rocky fields, just nothing, right? Well, one of my high school coaches was on that team. He was another chain smoking, pull his teeth out. I guess everybody lost their teeth in the 70s and 80s.
It's a tough kid.
Tough guy, big, forearms, just like ham hocks, man. I remember one time, so he coached the line, coached O-line, D-line. In high school, went to a Catholic high school. Like, we had 3 coaches. My high school here where my son played, they have 13 coaches. 13 coaches. A lot of them are volunteers, right? I mean, only a few are paid, but 13. We had 3. And we had, the huddle was the offensive linemen were in front, and they'd bend over their hands on their knees, and then tight ends, receivers, running back in the back. And so, I'm quarterback. And the O-line's messing up. And I remember Coach O'Neill was like, he's like, huddle up, stance, whatever. They all bend down. And he gets on one end and runs down the line like the Three Stooges, hitting everybody in the head with his forearm. He runs down, he turns around, hits him with his left hand. He's like,
in their
pull your hands out of your asses.
Their helmet's still on?
Oh, yeah. But some were turned sideways. I was like, whoo, I'm glad I'm not a lineman.
Did he like grab people by the face mask and lift up on the face mask while he was yelling at them?
Probably. I remember one time, so there was a guy who was 2 years older than me, and I carpooled with him. He had a brother in my class that was a great athlete. Jeff played basketball and baseball, but he was drafted. He played for the Pirates as a pitcher. So he was a great athlete. Scott was a big lineman. And Coach O'Neill, I remember one time, picked him up under his armpits and threw him, a 250-pound, 17-year-old lineman. And I was like, oh, once again, I'm glad I'm not a lineman.
Can I imagine that happening today? Kid goes home and tells his parents, Coach tossed me across the field.
Well, hell no. No, times have changed.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know that, it's better. I have issues like college football, college basketball, still, they might as well be pros.
Oh, yeah.
Larger program, the amount of money. Like Michigan just stole a quarterback from
LSU. I don't think they stole him, though. He's a Michigan boy. I think he had good agents. That was just a negotiation tactic.
I don't know the details there. I know everybody that saw him play that knows anything about football said he's great. But I don't know that I'd want to go to LSU and play for that asshole down there.
Yeah, I'm torn. I'm from Baton Rouge, so I'm a huge LSU fan, and I'm still torn on Brian Kelly. But don't get me started. We got to end on an up note. We can't talk about that, man.
Michigan beat Ohio State.
There we go. Woo!
Awesome.
All right, Walter, you've had a long day. So thanks for carving out time and putting up with I figured out my calendar issue. Woohoo!
Awesome.
That took me 3 months, but another client had me using their software, and that software, not to be named, Go High Level, was deleting. It added some third-party lead connector, and a friend shared the link, and I found it, deleted it. All right, so good news. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Good to see you. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you on yours in a couple of days.
Couple days, man. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, my pleasure. Have a good night.